Good day, nurses. Today I will be talking briefly about healthcare delivery systems. Okay. You would see that in this discussion, we will be touching on the healthcare delivery systems in the Philippines specifically. Okay, so the objective of this short lecture would be to outline the Philippine healthcare delivery systems. What do we have in place? We want to also understand the roles of the Department of Health, the local government units or the LGUs, and the many other community actors that are responsible for public health. We will also be comparing the Philippine system with the global standards as prescribed by the World Health Organization, and then look at the strengths, the gaps, the opportunities of growth for our system, as well as the threats that would impact our universal health coverage. Now, according to the book that we have been using for years, according to Maglaya, health is a public right. And the family, central to that is the family, which is the main unit of care, which would be our client in the community setting. Okay? Unlike the hospital, the locale where you will be assigned would be the care setting where we will be designing a care plan depending on the assessments that we make. Of course, the nurse plays a very pivotal role in this context, in this setting, and that there will be a shift in the plan of care that we're going to do because our main focus is on preventive as well as promotive care. Okay, so we want to address a problem even before it becomes an actual problem. That's why in your discussions in class, we want to be able to see what would be a problem if not addressed. If there are current problems already, we want to help them rehabilitate further. Okay, so it's more of addressing the problem before it becomes actually full blown. Okay, so when we talk of healthcare delivery systems, this would be the totality of all policies, equipment, products, human resources, and services which addresses the health needs, problems, and concerns of the people within the community. Okay? This one is multi-level kasi we start from the main unit, the family, as it extends to the barangay, to the community, to a much, much bigger national picture. Okay, so we not only look at the family per se, but we look at the totality of the services that are made available for the families, okay, the individuals in that family, and the community where that family is located or where they are a part of. Okay, of course, our main model comes from the World Health Organization. Okay, we know this as the specialized agency of the United Nations. Okay, I will not go further into details discussing World Health Organization, but it will be in the slides, in the handouts that I will be giving you, and you are free to read it, okay, and do a little research about it. But I would like to particularly focus our discussion on the healthcare delivery systems itself. Okay, so allow me to skip some of these slides, okay? Okay, we know that because of the World Health Organization, there have been many achievements, many milestones, such as eradication of certain diseases, such as smallpox because of the vaccination program. Okay, polio has been eradicated, although we still see small cases from time to time. Okay, our response to Ebola and COVID had been enforced. Okay, it's because of the World Health Organization and its efforts to unite healthcare and come up with standards of care that would, address these health concerns. Okay. Now, currently, the main focus of the World Health Organization would be non-communicable diseases, which have been found out to be the leading causes of death in the population nowadays. I guess the reason for that is because the communicable diseases have been um, effectively controlled by vaccination programs already. So there is a shift into the focus, okay, of the management. Now we know that WHO health system framework has 6 building blocks, okay? And they would be service delivery, okay, the workforce that provides or brings the services and delivers it to the population. And then we have the health information systems that we currently have now, that's more techy, okay, because we have adapted to technologies, okay. This also somehow helps the access of care, although in very poor population we still see a lack, no, the delivery of essential medicines and vaccines and the availability of technology still remain to be some of the problems that we encounter. Another building block would be finances, okay, and the governance and the leadership, okay, the stewardship of the people in possession, which actually is also seen, okay, by the healthcare providers. Kasi it goes in layers, eh. And nurses, okay, at that, are also leaders, okay, in the smallest essence, no? Now, back in the day, this is already defunct, no? We don't use the MDGs anymore. But this actually was the start, okay? Before, there was some Millennium Developmental Goals. There were 8 goals for the community, for the population, okay? Which aims to address major challenges, okay? That the population is currently experiencing, okay? We last used the MDGs in 2015. But we have transitioned from MDGs to SDGs already, okay? So, it's there in your handout, so I would want you to go through them and read them one by one, okay? But now we have transitioned to SDGs, and this is the Sustainable Development Goals. And there are now, from 8, we now have 8, we now have 17 goals. 1, to address poverty, to address hunger, okay, to maintain good well-being and health of the population, to provide quality education for all, gender equality, okay, sanitation, clean water and sanitation, which we know has a very huge impact to health, okay, affordable and clean energy. That's why now we're more keen to look at the environment. We also want decent work and economic growth, okay? We want innovations, okay, in the industry and infrastructure. We want reduce inequalities. We want to be able to address them. We want to have sustainable cities, okay? We also want to see responsible consumption and production. Ito, very environmental approach. We also want to be able to address climate changes, okay? We want to save the resources in the seas, okay? We have also want to save the resources in land, okay? We want to maintain justice, peace, and order, okay? And strong institutions. And then we want partnerships for all these goals to be met, okay? So each of these goals, okay, are interlinked and are presented to you in the slides, okay? So you may go through them one by one already. Now, for the SDGs to be sustainable, we in fact need 5 Ps. The first one would be the people. Okay? We want to focus on the people to end the problems of poverty, hunger in all forms, okay, ensuring dignity and equality at the same time. So, under that, you would see several SDGs from 1 through 5. We also want to take care of our planet, the focus of which is to protect the natural resources, okay, combat the effects of climate change to benefit us in the present and even those in the future. You would see that SDGs 6, 12, 13, 14, and 15 addresses this. And then we have prosperity at the end. We want to ensure that all people can enjoy prosperous, fulfilling lives. Okay, this would be more focusing on economics. Okay, technological progress. Okay, of course, in harmony with the environment and nature. So this would address goals number 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Of course, we also want peace, which sadly is a little bit challenged right now with the war going on. Okay, we want to establish peace, justice, and strong institutions. Okay? And we understand that partnership is just as important here, di ba? We want this agenda to push through global connections, collaborations, and partnership, solidarity within the community and beyond. And this is tackled in SDG number 17. Okay, so what is the current standing of the Philippine healthcare delivery system? We know that in our country, the structure follows this order. Nationally, we have the Department of Health, we have specialty hospitals, the big league hospitals, and we have policies and laws that govern the healthcare delivery systems. At the provincial level, we have provincial hospitals, okay? And this is where referral and coordination takes place, coming from the smaller units, that would be the city and municipal level, okay, where we would have the rural health units and the health centers, okay? And in each municipality or city, it would be comprised of several barangays where we would have barangay health workers, we have BNSS or your barangay nutrition scholars, okay? You have nurses there, you have volunteers. Of course, at the same time, we would have private sectors that do volunteer work, okay? Just like the university, for example, for every time we would have, excuse me, our community extension program. So we work with, okay, the private institutions, work with the barangay level, and if it could not be addressed at the barangay level, it is then elevated to the rural health, and then from rural to provincial to national. So all of this is interconnected, and that is the hierarchy and the structure of the Philippine healthcare delivery systems. Okay, so you would see that there are levels of care. The primary being the community level, di ba? Yung barangay level, the rural health level, and that's where the government programs of DOH are implemented, like the vaccination programs, okay, the feeding programs that happen, the monitoring of the children, the monitoring of the mother and the child, the breastfeeding programs. These are all done starting from the primary level. Okay? And then we have the secondary level and then the tertiary where we would have specialty hospitals. Okay? So if you look at it, the major players are divided into two. That would be the public sector and the private sector. Okay? So the main, no, on top of that hierarchy is a Department of Health that overall provides the technical authority as to health. No, they are the ones that create the policy. They are the ones that regulate. Okay, how healthcare delivery systems are to be provided. Okay, from all sectors and all levels. Okay. So the vision of DOH, okay, the mission, okay, of DOH are there in the slides. Okay. I will give you time to read through the history of DOH. Okay. But mainly, the main function of DOH, okay, is number one, to ensure equal access to the basic health services, plan and establish arrangements for public health system to achieve economics of scale. We want to formulate, okay, they want to formulate policies, okay, national policies, okay, and they want to regulate the standards that protect the consumers or protect us. Okay? It also ensures that a minimum level of nationwide implementation of the services is done. So, to me, parang kulang na minimum, di ba? Because technically, we would want the services to be optimized and be received widely by the population. Okay, so the three major roles of DOH is leadership. It should be an enabler. Okay, it should build capacities among the people at the primary and secondary levels, and they should be the ones to administer specific services. And they are the ones who regulate. They are the ones who would establish. Okay, and ensure that the services are well received. Okay. So we have several DOH hospitals. Usually, these are public hospitals. Okay, and currently, the government is working hard to increase the delivery of this service. No? But truth be told, you know, we're still far away there. That's why at our level, in the community level, we really want to be able to extend that help that our clients should be receiving at the community level. Okay? So currently, we have the Philippine Health Sector Reform Agenda, or the HRSA, which was launched in 1999. This one is aimed at overhauling the health system of the Philippines. That way, we are able to better the delivery, the regulation, okay, even the financing. No, I know it's still a long way to go with all the corruption and all the problems that we encounter, but at least we're heading towards that right direction as of the moment. Okay. So these are the mechanisms of the HSR. So we want, of course, to develop a sound organization. We want with that organization, we want structure through strong policies, systems, and procedures. And we want to we want to capacitate the human resource, which would be the ones that would allow us to achieve, okay, the goals set by DOH, and they are the key players, they are the implementors. Okay? Sadly, common problem would be the finances, no? Kasi we have corruption and all the bureaucratic problems. But in an ideal world, okay, these four mechanisms should be in place and should work closely together. So the HRSA wants to enhance the autonomy of the hospital. We want to make sure that there is ample funding for hospital resources to be delivered to the community. We want to develop satellite local health systems that can multiply the efforts of the big hospitals. Just as we regulate the practice, no, we want to strengthen regulatory agencies that make sure that the quality of services provided to the community. And we want health insurances, okay, to be expanded to give better coverage for the general public. Okay, so in 2005, we have the Formula One for Health and the Philippine Health Agenda, which was launched in 2016 to 2022. And then we have the Universal Health Care Law. Okay, so the Formula One or the F1, okay, the goal of this program is to better health outcomes. Okay, we want the healthcare delivery systems to be more responsive of the need of the population or the community, and we want to be able to provide equitable healthcare financing. Okay, so what are the four pillars of the formula? One for health: health service delivery, health financing, good governance, and health regulation. Okay. Then we have the Philippine Health Agenda. Now, and the catchphrase for this program is all for health towards health for all. Okay. The key strategies employed by this agenda would be financial risk protection, better health outcomes, which is aligned with the formula, and responsive health system. So it's basically a reiteration of the Formula One. Okay. Then now, from then, we now have the Universal Health Care Law, which was started in 2019, also known as Republic Act 11223, okay, or the Universal Health Care Act. So this is basically a continuation of what was started, and it mainly wants that equitable access to quality and affordable care is guaranteed. Okay, care and services is guaranteed for the community. Okay, now why is the UHC developed? Okay, because there are many challenges, no, that are encountered in the community level. We have limited healthcare coverage, high out-of-pocket cost. And we know, especially in the community level, there are many families who might not be able to afford, the specific healthcare needs that they are wanting. Okay, there is inequity in health access, and even the healthcare system, the delivery of services is fragmented. Still, it's a systemic problem that needs to be addressed. Okay, it's a weakness, it's a strength. Okay, so to better address these concerns, the UHC aspires to achieve equity, aspires to protect families from financial problems. Okay, we want to improve the services that we can, in fact, deliver, while at the same time supporting the national development of programs to address the mentioned challenges. Okay, so the main focus of the UHC would be PhilHealth coverage for all, okay? Even for those who are not working, that's why when you're a senior, you automatically get a PhilHealth, okay? Financial risk protection, quality and affordable care, strengthening of primary health care, which we in the community as community health nurses are key players. Okay, we also want to institutionalize health technology assessment and improve the health system performances. Okay, so until now, the UHC is one of the areas that we are currently working hard to improve. Okay, so Ma'am Sibayan is very fortunate na there have been conversations with DOH that I have been part of that think tank in efforts to improve the UHC. Okay, so eto na yan. So basically, want to make care accessible. That's why we want to make sure everybody has their PhilHealth. We want to simplify how you are able to get that help from PhilHealth. And we're hoping that PhilHealth would be a main revenue source for public health providers, which, truth be told, is quite challenging. No, hopefully, in the years to come, the bureaucratic shenanigans that happen in the background will also be just as addressed. Okay, so we have the medium-term Philippine Development Plan. Okay, this is the roadmap the government is taking right now and aspires that within that 6-year period, we would be able to align, the current status with what we have been aiming to achieve that were previously discussed. Okay, so we have the ambition natin, 2040, a long-term vision for Filipinos to live a strongly rooted, comfortable, and secure life by 2040. Okay, so how are we going to reach that destination? The key objectives would be economic transformation, social development, infrastructure, and development. Okay, we also want to achieve climate resilience and sustainability, good governance, peace, and security. So what did you notice about the things that we have just discussed? If you think about it, everything aligns with the SDG. It builds, no? It builds from each other. Siyempre, whatever the direction we want to go, we would want to align still to the universal standards that are being implemented worldwide. Okay? So, when we talk of primary health care, this is the essential health care made universally accessible to individuals and families in the community. So this is the community level. This is where we are right now, and we are key players into this setting. Okay, so we want to be able to address the majority of the person's health needs throughout their lifetime. And in a household, we would see a diverse demographic. Diba? We would have children, we would have adults, we even have geriatric patients there. And we should be able to address the unique needs each individual has at the primary level. So if they are not yet sick, then we would want to be able to prevent them from getting sick. The premise for this would be all people everywhere deserve the right to care and the right and right there in their community itself. Okay? So we really want to partner with the people in the community and empower them so that they are able to make use of the resources available to them. If they are enabled, if they are equipped, if they are empowered, there will be very little need for them to seek, hospitalization and all that because they are already maximizing the available things that are made possible in the barangay level that prevents them from getting sick. So they maximize on the resources that are within reach. Okay? So in the community, when we talk of primary levels, our focus would be first the individual, each individual of the family. The family then becomes the community, and the group of community becomes the population group. So it's actually like a pyramid, no? Now you start with the individual and the many individuals comprising the family, then moving on to the subunit, the barangay, and then the bigger community, and then nationally and globally. Okay? So the three components would be meeting the people's health needs. That's why you will be going to the community, meeting each one, okay? Addressing the determinants of health. And this is why our outputs, okay, from the community is communicated with the barangay health leaders because this will serve as their database for when they elevate, okay, the concerns that you would be seeing, especially when you go to CHN2, okay, this one is communicated with the community so that it will then be forwarded to the bigger group that would be able to provide them what is needed, okay? But in the process, we want to empower individuals and families and communities so that just as we're working towards, okay, the bigger community or the bigger systems, we are already addressing what we can at the level of the family and the community. Okay, so we understand that primary health care is community-based. Okay, it is affordable, low cost. Okay, it is accessible within the radius of 3 to 5 kilometers or 30 minutes within 30 minutes. It should be sustainable. No? It is something that the community people can be able to sustain and keep up with, and it should be available, ensuring access. Okay, so what are the cornerstones? We have the active community participation, so we have COPAR. We have the intra and intersectoral linkages, okay, within the community. We want to make use of appropriate technologies that are available in that community. And then we want to create that support mechanism and make it available within the context of that community. Okay. So remember the elements da, okay? And these are the elements of the primary healthcare. Education, which you will be doing in the community. Having an understanding of what is locally endemic and communicable in that area and controlling it. Okay, before there we have a lot of goiter in this area when I was having my community health along Lumil. But now, because of the iodized salt program of the Department of Health, we don't see that anymore. It's also in a study done in the university. When you go to Balibago, there's a big number of cases on worm infestation. So parasitic infections is common. There kayo kakain ng mga street food doon, okay? But and because of the community surveillance, we know that would be the problem. Projects to address that are being done. Okay? We want to expand and continue the immunization program. We want to focus on maternal and child health. Okay? We've seen so many studies that sees how the first 1,000 days, no, the relationship of the mother and child from pregnancy up until the child becomes 2 years has an impact to shape the future health of these babies now and who will become adults. In fact, in a recent study, it was shown that 72,300 cases of non-communicable diseases can be avoided if the maternal and child nutrition is addressed early on. So if the mother is made to breastfeed for the longest time possible, beyond 2 years, then you see that number, 72,300 cases would be avoided from non-communicable diseases. And this is research-based. And it's amazing to find out, right? We want to make sure that the essential drugs are available within the community. This would be drugs for hypertension, antibiotics, vaccinations, okay? We want to ensure that nutrition programs are done. That's why we do health teaching. We talk about breastfeeding all the time, complementary feeding, special nutrition for pregnant women, and special groups of population. We want treatments to be made available. We want safe water and sanitation to be ensured. Okay, we also have dental health programs that ensures that people in the community get their needed service. That's why our students from the College of Dentistry go to the community to address and give free dental services. Okay, so we also have the access to Centrum Sigla, and now we have we're giving more access to the help needed for mental health issues. Okay. So we're almost done. Okay, the principles and design strategies of the PHC is also known as PRAMIS. P is provision of quality and essential health services. We have the RA 7160 or the centralization system. We also have the ACE of health services. That would be services should be acceptable, affordable, available. We want to be able to mobilize the help that is needed. No, we should be able to make referrals as needed. Okay, we have to provide the information needed. Education should be done. Okay, we want to increase community participation because we want them to be empowered to also be actively participating in healthcare programs because it's for them. Okay, that way we increase the self-reliance of the individual, the family, and the community. Okay, so the two levels of primary healthcare workers would be the village or the barangay health worker or the BHW. These are trained volunteers, community health workers, okay? This would also include the traditional birth attendants or the hilots, okay? We have the intermediate level health worker. These are the GP or the general practitioners that are assigned in the health centers. We have the public health nurse, the sanitary inspectors, and the midwives that are very present at the community level. Let's briefly talk about the devolution of health services. Okay, For over 40 years after post-war independence, the Philippine healthcare system was administered by a central agency based in Manila, which provided the singular sources of resources. Okay, policy direction, technical and administrative supervision to all health facilities. But in 1991, the Philippine government introduced a major devolution of national government services. Okay, and it was done, okay, it was called the Local Government Code of 1991. Okay. So basically, this devolved the basic services for agriculture, okay, forest management, okay, which extended in 1992 to the delivery of health services, okay. So from the National Department of Health to locally elected provincial municipal government. So parang they cascaded it to the smaller units in the community. Kasi it would be hard if only one main institution would manage everything. So basically, by devolution, you're giving autonomy to smaller units so that they can address and do what they can at their own level to address the health concerns experienced by the population. Okay? So somehow, the devolution allowed certain amounts of powers and control and responsibility to the local government units. Okay? So there. So the main intention really was for the services to be delivered efficiently and effectively. Okay. Um, and it empowered the smaller units to make decisions. Okay. Allocate funds as needed. Okay. To act on the challenges that are experienced in their small subset or in their small community. Okay. And the LGUs have taken on the great responsibility in the delivery of basic services and in the operation of facilities in areas that include primary health care and hospital care services. That's why we have the health centers available. Okay. So, but because of the devolution, that's when we started to compartmentalize the levels of health. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, what were the challenges that and issues that were encountered? Of course, finances will always be a problem. The number of health personnel available is also a problem. That's why the government have started to do the doctors to the barrios, nurses to the barrios, because there's very huge number of people in need, but very few providers available. Okay. Of course, this also caused some changes in the organization, no? Structural change. Okay. We also, because of that devolution, local health boards have been placed. Okay, they are tasked to prepare the annual budget for health. Okay, this is where a lot of corruption is happening. So, but basically, this allows us to create, a plan. Okay, a plan of action, and it is the local health board that tries its best to implement. Okay, so what are the classification of health facilities that we have? As mentioned a while ago, we have the primary level, secondary, and tertiary levels. So the primary level would be the barangay health center, which we work closely with as we go to the community. Okay, so they're the ones that provide the basic care, such as maternal and child health, family planning, vaccinations. The basic disease management is what they have. Then we have the secondary facility, which I mentioned a while ago, and this would be comprised of municipal hospitals, district hospitals, infirmaries, and outpatient departments. And then we have the specialized facilities or the tertiary care. Ito yung mga medical center, provincial hospitals, specialized hospitals, okay. And we're hoping to have one of ours, like the teaching hospital of soon to be Adventist University of the Philippines. Okay? So, with the three levels of care, we also have the three levels of prevention. Okay, we said that in community, the main goal is preventive, right? So, what are the three levels of prevention? It starts with the primary, okay, prevent the occurrence of diseases. Okay, that's the main goal. Secondary would be catching early diseases so that treatment may be done, okay, and then tertiary, minimize the disability and improve the quality of life. Remember this, guys, okay? This is very important. So our role now in the community is focus on the primary, maybe a little bit of the secondary, because we would be able to detect, okay, and take note of the current diseases that our people in the community might have and experience. Okay? And then tertiary would be the ones where we refer to. Okay, so I hope this very quick. I tried to keep it as short as possible. Okay, please do read the handouts. Okay, and do work on your SWOT, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats based on our discussion and the handouts that I've given. You will be able to identify what are the strengths that we have right now, what are the weaknesses of what we're experiencing right now, what are the opportunities available, and what are the threats to these opportunities that we encounter based on your readings, based on the discussion, and based on your observation as we go to the community. As a nurse, I would like to quote Tom Frieden, and he says, I love clinical practice. But in public health, you can impact more than one person at a time. The whole society is your patients. Thank you very much, people. I look forward to see your SWOT activities. Bye!